North-central Nigeria is made up of 7 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, Benue, Kogi, Kwara, Nasarawa, Niger, and Plateau State. Just last week, Plateau State was in the news for a sudden rise in attacks on communities, which has left more than 90 people dead.
Actually, we traced that to 2 weeks ago when attacks that left more than 50 people dead in some communities in Boko's local government area. And thereafter, Sunday night, we hear in other districts of Irigwe chiefdom, of course, still in Boko's rather, were also attacked.
Many high-profile government officials, including the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, and DIG BD Kwazi, have been to the affected areas and indicated they are strategizing to halt these killings.
Hopefully. Now, in Benue, the state governor, Caleb Mutwang, and a former military administrator in the state, Rear Admiral Bitrus Atukum, retired, also alleged that attacks were targeted at impoverishing the affected communities and, of course, seizing their ancestral lands.
Let's now talk about Benue State, another very hot spot in Nigeria's north central. It experienced increased attacks in recent times in Kwande, Ukum, Katsina Ala, Logo, and Gwe West. The state governor, Aisen Alia, says a security summit will hold soon to help address issues fueling these crises.
Now, concerned persons have indicated, alleged reasons for the current upsurge in insecurity in the country's north central area. And some of those, alleged reasons would include spread of urban criminal gangs to new territories and expansion of rural-based violence to settlements in urban centers as well.
Yes, Claire, they also point out the role played by some political actors in arming criminal networks in these areas and believe illicit operations of criminal networks in urban, Jos and Benue have not only increased, but rural-based militias are moving their attacks to semi-urban areas of the cities.
Absolutely. Demola, now those concerned people are also saying or linking economic downturns and conflict-affected areas. They insist, that this has fueled crime and violence, destabilizing livelihoods and forcing more people into illicit activities, especially proliferation of small arms and light weapons.
You're right, Claire. There is also the belief that criminal affiliations are feeding into long-standing conflicts, driving instability and blurring the boundary between criminality and conflict. Let me also mention that other issues such as banditry, kidnapping, and communal conflicts are still grim realities in Nigeria's north-central geopolitical zone.
Honestly, Demola, the issue in north-central Nigeria is a multiplicity of factors driving the conflict. And of course, that informs our focus on Good Morning Nigeria today because of the heightened insecurity in those areas. All right, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. I am Claire Dilapo Abdul Razak, and of course, our phone lines will be, of course, displayed on the screen. You can be part of our conversation by sending in your reactions and comments, SMS only, on 081-696-881126. Again, 081-696-881126.
Well, okay. I am Ademola Adeoye. I also thank you for joining us. We are reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. In a short while from now, we'll have newspaper review.
All right, Demola, I think it's, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. It's now time for newspaper review. Stay with us.
All right, welcome, and we do. Chukwudi Okudugbaja will not be joining us
What
this
did you do
morning.
to Chooks?
I hear his stomach.
What did you
I
give
hear
to
his stomach
Chooks?
is flipping the pages of its own headlines. Maybe Chukwudi digested the wrong editorials this morning. Yes.
All
So
right.
Chooks, next time edit what you eat.
Okay, now. Oh, yeah, you start off then, since
Okay,
you gave
let's.
him the food.
I didn't give him the food. Let's start with leadership. Leadership is quite busy this morning, but I'd just like to take it from the top of the headline of the NIM masthead, I beg your pardon. It says, Reps inaugurate Oversight Committee on Rivers. And then, of course, just below the nameplate, Trump's tariffs threatening Nigeria's oil revenue. That's, of course, coming from the NMDPRA warning the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Taraba, Ondo leaders Lassa fever death toll rises to 127. But the headline this morning on leadership, we've failed you, Governor Muftwang begs plateau communities. There are a number of riders there. That story is on page 4. It's on page 4, and you'll find a cross-section of the pictures terrace there showing internally displaced persons who were affected by the attacks in different communities in Basa, local government area of Plateau, some of them taking refuge in primary school. And there is Governor Caleb Muftwang and other security team that visited the area yesterday. And other stories trending on the right-hand column. Illegal mining sites line killed 4 in Niger. It's on page 16. Trump blames Zelensky for starting Ukraine war. That's on the foreign scene. It's on page 7. Nigeria's inflation rate hits 24.23%. You heard that earlier in the news. The first since the rebasement of the economy, or rebasing of the economy. Page 27, you can find that story. 27 hospitalized over crash of CBEX trading platform, and it's on page 23.
That's another.
Yes, I think I have another online report. I think I'll quickly just take it. Maybe Demola, I think you should take one before I get hold of it.
Okay, let me just go through this Blueprint newspaper. And just above the nameplate, we have IG visits Plateau, assures of justice for Basa massacre victims. Details of that story can be found on page 18. Wike vows to speed up FCT development. Details of that story is on page 6. Federal government state LG share 1.578 trillion in March. That is the details on page 19 on Business News. Morocco 2025, Flamingo step up for Algeria clash. Then we have the report directly to NAS. Reps tells Rivers administrator. The details of that story is on page 8. And MDPRA upbeat as PMS imports drop by 30 million litres in 8 months. Says we have issued 47 refinery licenses in 1 year. Trump tariffs fuel market volatility threatens after 2025 budget. That details of that story can be found on page 8. Then we have Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway. Tinubu's second term assured. Governor Eno says Akwa Ibom might always work together for progress, no matter the party differences. That's coming from the PDP governor there. And the details is on page 8. Then we have Nigeria inflation hit 24.2% in March, MBS. Details on page 20. Lassa fever death toll rises to 127. Details on page 6. UK government invest 9.5 billion naira to boost Nigeria's infrastructure. Details on page 20. FCCPC seals off 10 Abuja shops over rice rebagging, unfair pricing, and many others. Details on page 19.
Okay, I have. Are you done? I have the Daily Times. The Daily Times, yes, it says Idris to public officials. Of course, this is the Minister of Information. Idris to public officials, embrace media literacy to tackle fake news. Embrace media literacy to tackle fake news. That's the Minister of Information and National Orientation to public officials. There, of course, the other stories that we earlier read from the other papers. That's the story coming from the governor of Plateau State, alleging that the state government have failed the people of Plateau and begs them. Of course, there's tension as aviation unions threaten industrial action. Also there, Wike cracks down on land speculators, insists on 21-day payment rule, and reps inaugurate ad hoc committee to oversee administration of River State. Reps inaugurate ad hoc committee to oversee administration of River State. And Saswan blames judiciary for festering PDP National Secretary tussle. Okay, I think those are all the stories that we can take from the Daily Times. Demola, I think the leading story this morning is the one coming from the governor of Plateau State.
Yeah, so we have failed.
Yes, we failed you. But again, if that is coming from a state executive, you begin to imagine how is it in terms of security capacity to provide security for the people, or is it in terms of, is the failure within the context of governance framework? Because you're going to ask, how has the governance architecture in all the north central states addressed the issue that are fueling the crisis? So
what actually he's saying is that he has admitted that government has consistently failed.
In what ways? Because
to protect the people.
Yes, protection is quite broad.
From being attacked.
Protection is quite broad.
Yeah,
it's quite broad. When you talk about protection, security reasons, security again is another broad terminology. For being attacked, you are the chief security officer of the state. Then it speaks to your capacity to do that. There are a lot of implications in what if this is actually the words coming from the governor, we have failed. Of course, it's in quotes here. So which means that it's a direct, take from...
Or indictment.
So,
well, anyway, that's
but it's unfortunate.
That's our conversation this morning.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so maybe the guest that we have this morning will have to throw more light into that and give us maybe... an explanation,
an insight,
to what the governor means by saying that, but by accepting that at least the government has failed them, the people. So if you have failed, what is the next step?
Precisely, and it's just unfortunate the number of people that have been displaced. Someone said that if you go to some of the IDP camps, even here in Abuja, you'll find a family, so these are not just homeless people; they are families, that have been displaced from,
houses burnt, their resources destroyed.
How long we will continue?
It's really unfortunate.
It's unfortunate.
And the sad thing is that some people are even alleging that there are political undertone in all these things, and we don't know.
Like I said, every conflict. Every conflict has
Human
its
elements.
dimension. Its dimension. The conflict emerging in the North Central might not have the same dimension as the conflict in Southwest or Southeast and all that. The one in the North Central, it's so complex because there are multiplicity of factors that are intertwined, from ethnic identity crises, to religious, to political manipulation of those fault lines.
Claire,
yes.
your PhD thesis. You're trying to...
All right. Okay, let's not even go there.
Let's delve into that.
Yes. Nigeria's inflation is hitting 24.3%. That's someone said is the first since, the rebasing of the economy. And that's already on page 27. Just trying to see what the content of that is on page 27. And let's quickly go to that. That's it. It says, okay, all the items less farm produce and energy or core inflation, which includes the prices of volatile agricultural produces and energy, standing at 24.3% in March. I was trying to see what is actually driving, the inflation, whether it's food, items again. But the food prices hike was highest in Oyo, Kaduna, Kebbi, and Bayelsa. With, of course, Adamawa hitting 12.41% and Akwa Ibom 12.60%, recorded the lowest rise in food inflation year-on-year basis. So again, food items driving the inflation.
Yeah, that's really, you can't really say because this, all these communal crises,
precisely,
insecurity, is affecting every sphere of life. Then we have these 27 hospitalized over crash of CBEX trading platform. These are another Ponzi scheme.
Permit my ignorance. I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's this.
I don't do those things. So
it's really unfortunate
yes.
because people just keep falling into being, to this Ponzi scheme, and you can allegedly swept over 1.3 trillion from investors' account on Monday. A lot of people, trying to look for quick money, cheap money. And they just go and just stake their income and their fortune. And at the end of the day, I was discussing with my friend yesterday, said they'll first give you, if you play like 2,000, they'll give you 10,000. You'll be happy to ginger you. Then you now take the 10,000 plus your savings, add to it. And you just switch it in. Okay, give me more.
I hope you're not. I
was a victim long ago, but I've learned my lesson.
Exactly, exactly. They say once bitten, twice shy. But Nigerians will never be shy.
That was long ago. When the thing first came.
I don't even do that. Trump's tariffs is threatening Nigeria's oil revenue. This is a very important, item here that we must also look at. The tariffs are not only aimed at China, but are sweeping across multiple countries and regions. They are unsettling the balance of demand and supply, particularly in the energy sector.
Yeah, we discussed that on Monday, actually. That was the Trump tariffs on Nigeria economy. And the experts were able to give all the insights and analyzed the effects of it and what the government needs to do, to protect the economy against the effect. Anyway, we need to sign up now.
Yes, I just want to say, the Lassa fever, we shouldn't, always promote Lassa, this state leading in deaths. We should also say this state are leading in, efforts to reduce, the mortality that is arising from all of this fever. And I know that the Ministry of Health is on its toes, to, of course, mitigating or reducing those indices for us.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Chooks.
Please, next time, digest or
No.
edit what you eat.
Is it edit now?
Yes, it should edit what he eats. All right, please, let's take a break. Don't forget, the conversation is on the rising or persistent, protracted conflict and attacks in the north central states. And of course, we have our line, SMS line. In a short while, it will be displayed on the screen. Please do follow us on this conversation. Send us your comments, your thoughts, and your suggestions. All right, thank you for joining us for this conversation. If you've just tuned in, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we are live on the network service of the NTA. Just to remind you, before we take our background report from Timothy Yusuf, that you can also be part of our conversation, and I'll just read out the number to send your SMS. Please SMS only. 081-696-88126. 081-696-88126. 126. SMS only. Let's take the background report by Timothy Yusuf.
The North Central Geopolitical Zone of Nigeria is composed of 6 states: Benue, Kogi, Kwara, Nasarawa, Niger, and Plateau, plus the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. It is believed by many that the North Central Zone of Nigeria faces significant security challenges, including banditry, kidnapping, and communal conflicts. This is evident in the recent killings in Plateau, Benue, and Nasarawa states. To tackle these challenges, experts are of the view that a multifaceted approach is necessary. First, security measures requiring enhanced intelligence gathering, increased troop deployment of security personnel to high-risk areas to deter bandits and other criminal elements, and community policing through implementation of initiatives to build trust between security agencies and local communities. Another approach suggested is socio-economic development through job creation and economic opportunities to reduce poverty and unemployment, which can contribute to insecurity. Infrastructure development is another key approach suggested by investing in roads, schools, and healthcare facilities to improve living standards and provide basic services. Education and skills training is another, by empowering youth and reduce their vulnerability to radicalization. Community engagement via dialogue and mediation is also believed to be another key approach through encouragement of dialogue and mediation between different communities to resolve conflicts and promote peaceful coexistence. Community-based initiative support is also advocated towards promoting social cohesion and community development. Stakeholder engagement with local stakeholders, including traditional leaders, youth groups, and women organizations, to build trust and promote security is also another approach. Lastly, is institutional reforms through security sector reform, justice system reform, and governance reform. By addressing the root causes of insecurity and implementing a comprehensive approach, Nigeria is expected to have the capacity to improve security in the North Central region and promote sustainable development. Stay tuned for details with our guest in the studio on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Timothy Yusuf, for that background report. And we already have seated in the studio our guest to look into our topic for discussion this morning. And as usual, we have Dr. Kabil Adamu, Security Risk Management Expert. Dr. Adamu, you're welcome once again.
My pleasure. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Also joining us here is Patrick Agbambu. He's the President, CEO, Security Watch Africa Initiatives. Mr. Agbambu, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good
morning.
Okay, we have Wilson Inaligu, Assistant Inspector General of Police, retired. He's also here with us. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. It's good to see you once again.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Also from Jos, Sani Suleiman. He's a peace building expert and former project lead of USAID-funded community initiatives promoting peace in states like Kaduna, Benue, Plateau, and Kogi states. And we're very glad that you could join us for this conversation.
Hello, Claire. Good morning, viewers, and my pleasure to be with you this morning.
Thank you very much. Well, let's just jump into the conversation this morning. Dr. Kabir Adamu, you were here about a week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about this issue of security in the country. Now we are back again, and this time is just and is creating a lot of concern amongst Nigerians, especially in the north, facing serious insecurity. And this thing seems to be, gaining momentum, especially in that part of the country. What do you think is responsible for this? Let's just lay the foundation first.
Thank you very much. And yes, I was here where we've discussed security, and incidentally, previous times, I think about a year ago, if I recall precisely, December last year, when there was a heinous attack and I think about 100 people were killed in Plateau State. We had a discussion. Before then, we've discussed the issue. So what are the triggers and drivers of the security situation in the north central part of Nigeria that has kind of made Plateau State a melting pot of these challenges? Essentially, it is an identity-based crisis. There are groups that, in one way or the other, they have common features, maybe because of their profession, or because of their ethnicity, or in some instances because of their religion. They are tied to a particular interest, and for some very odd reasons, the leadership have not been able to foster harmony among these different identities. And so from time to time, you see the attempt to project that interest resulting in conflict. Now, there are other underlying factors that make the conflict result into the fatalities that we're seeing. Number one is what is the elephant in the room as far as I'm concerned: poor land governance policy. Till date, and even as we're discussing, the land governance policy is not advocating harmony. It is not inclusive, it is not equitable, it is not effective. Land titling has not been done in spite of the constant statement coming from officials that it is about land grabbing. Yet the titling of the land has not been done. And even where it's done, there are concerns that it's not equitable. So clearly, it's not supporting this diverse interest. Second point is proliferation of small arms and light weapons. It's, in fact, it's documented, and I'm sure you've covered it extensively. In several instances, local factories for the production of weapons have been discovered in the plateau. Purchase of weaponry is quite common in the plateau, in several communities, whether the hotspots or the not so hotspots, including educational institutions. At a point, the extent to which you could buy weapons in Plateau State was ridiculous. It was so cheap in terms of availability. So that's also a driver. And then add to it the inability of certain sectional leaders, especially religious leaders, that have now capitalized on some of the factors that I've mentioned earlier on to further entrench the division that already exists in the state. And then, of course, the socio-economic circumstances that we have in the plateau. There is a huge youth bulge. For some reasons, I think I would want to just mention the environmental factors. Plateau used to be a place where illegal mining was quite high. And so you now have lands that have been excavated and have been abandoned with large pools of environment. So that limits farming capabilities. Add to that the artisanal or illegal mining that is still going on the plateau. So this socioeconomic condition is also another contributing factor. And then the one that worries me, which I'll be careful how I put this, 15 years ago, when the crisis reached a pitch level, two institutions were created. One, the military institution called Operation Safe Haven, to provide, I would say, military support and help douse the tension. The second one is a state-level security platform called Operation Rainbow. Sadly, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, the information we are getting is that some officials of these two institutions have become active participants in the conflict, as against helping to quell the tension. Several groups have gone on air to release statements to allege certain infractions by members of this group. So institutions that were created as law enforcement to provide the right atmosphere to douse the tension, sadly have now become active participants. And with all sense of responsibility, 15 years is enough to determine whether a baby is going to be fruitful or not. And I think one thing we've not done for both, we've not subjected them to the instruments that exist in our democratic system to say, what is your performance? How have you fared within those 15 years? In fact, what is your end game? What is your exit strategy? They are meant to be operations, apart from Operation Rainbow that is backed by a state-level law. Operation Safe Haven is meant to be a stopgap operation. When is it going to exit? Is it going to remain entrenched within that conflict dynamics forever? So these are some of the factors.
Are you supporting the allegation? Are you supporting the allegations of connivance, with the issues and concerns that you have raised?
By the security agencies?
Yes.
So it's not my place to support or not to support.
Yeah, but you have raised
as a researcher
that have nexus with the allegation.
Yes, I would get there. What my concern is what it foils. If identity is an identity-based conflict, if one side or both sides believe that the instrument that is meant to quell the crisis has become an active participant, then the likelihood is they're going to pick arms themselves and fight to extract vengeance. Law enforcement is supposed to, our criminal justice system is meant to be a deterrent. Now, where there is a perception that that criminal justice system is biased or is ineffective, then the likelihood is individuals will pick weapons to exact their vengeance. And unfortunately, that's what we have in the plateau.
What I'm getting from what you're saying is, if the issues concerns you've raised in terms of performance metrics and timeline, if it is publicly known, that may probably bring some kind of trust and confidence to what the military...
compliance, actually.
Yes.
The military institution, in fact, let me not restrict it to the military institution. Our security agencies are instruments of policy implementation. They have to be answerable to us, to tell us this is what they are doing. We give them money, yeah? We arm them. What is the purpose is stated in Section 14, subsection 2 of the Constitution. If today we have woken up and that element within subsection 2, Section 14, subsection 2 is not being met, and we have institutions that have that responsibility, then we should be able to ask critical questions.
It's a very fundamental aspect in the conflict, or conflict drivers that you have raised, and I'm glad that retired AIG is here with us. But first, in terms of contextualizing our conversation, I want to hear from Suleiman in Jos to probably give us an insight what the atmosphere is in Jos, and then share with us if you've found any, in terms of the conflict drivers, any new dynamic that is, manipulating the already known fault lines. I mean, the factors are there. Is there any new dynamic that is, driving this recent escalation or exacerbation of the conflict, not just in Plateau State, but in the north central states of Nigeria?
Thank you very much, Claire, and good morning, Nigeria. Let me quickly begin by saying I sympathize with the families in Bokos and Basa local government of Plateau State over this sad incident. When we discuss this issue of insecurity in the North Central Plateau, Benue, and other places, one thing that we cannot overemphasize is the fact that it is multifaceted and very complex situation. And over these years, communal conflicts, either over resources or over other issues, have been allowed to linger for too long, creating room for several other factors to come in. The weaponization of religion and other identity has contributed in polarizing people and affecting the perception of people. Again, violent conflict lead to trauma, and heal trauma even lead to more violence. One factor that we can see in these communities that are affected by this violent conflict is a long years of traumatized societies. And in the absence of sustained initiatives and efforts that continue to engage on this situation, addressing trauma, strengthening early warning and early response mechanism, enhancing mediation and dialogue, enhancing negotiation among these communities, has really deepened the suspicion, mistrust among these people. Most of these attacks that are happening are not happening out of the blue. Many of them are coming as a reaction to some things that has happened, some several months back, some several years back. And if we look at what is happening in Bassa and Bokos local government, we must recall back what has happened some months back in Mangu, in Riom, and other surrounding local governments. And the question we need to ask is, are our response and intervention to these issues sustainable enough and comprehensive enough? Most of the time, when government and non-governmental organizations respond to this situation, and then the situation calms down, unfortunately, efforts are not sustained over time to continue to engage with the issues, to continue to engage with the parties involved, and we just return back and relax that things have been normalized. Forgetting that building sustainable peace and secure community require us to address issues of impunity. Issue of impunity has become also embedded in the middle of all these issues. The situation has become such that a victim of the situation today has become a perpetrator later in the day. A victim of yesterday has become a perpetrator today has become a victim. So the cycle has become so complex and intertwined. And therefore, engaging with this issue requires a more strategic, more comprehensive approach, both by government and non-governmental agencies, in such a manner that while we are dealing with aspect of security, aspect of crime and criminality, which has also become key in the context, criminals find conducive environment to perpetrate their crime and hide behind communal mistrust, communal conflict, and unfortunately, when these criminals perpetrate their crime, communities take ownership of these criminals and protect them simply because they are from their communities. And crime and criminality has no religion and has no tribe or ethnicity. Until our approach to this issue is more communal and it strengthens the community who are experiencing this issue day in, day out, it will continue to be difficult for us to really adequately deal with this situation. One thing we have come to observe is that there are different narratives, different perspectives to this issue. Some people will tell you these attacks has nothing to do with the incessant, long-time intercommunal conflict over land, over territorial control, over resources. Some will argue that no, they are connected to these issues. Now, first casualty in this kind of situation is the truth. And that is why in the parlance of conflict management and peace building, we said that behind every truth, there is another truth. Are we creating enough platform to listen to all sides? Are we creating enough space for engagement across the conflict fault line? I think one key issue here is the issue has been so polarized. We have allowed different narrative and different perspective to take over. We have allowed narratives and perspective by elites who often take advantage of this situation to advance their political and religious interests up and against the interests of the local communities who are losing their life, who are becoming more and more traumatized, losing their livelihood and economic well-being at the detriment of that. We can look at the aspect of state intervention to this issue, and we can say kudos to Plateau State Government and Benue State Government for introducing Plateau State Peace Building Agency by an act of parliament, introducing the Benue State Peace Commission by an act of parliament. But we still ask this question. Aside establishing this institution, which mandate should be to engage on these issues continuously in a sustainable manner, are the government adequately investing in this institution, investing in terms of capacity, investing in terms of resources, investing in terms of policy backing to enable this institution to operate and synergize with other agencies with other mandates? It is difficult to address the non-tangible issues of insecurity and violence, as well as address the tangible issues side by side. Issues of conflict, security, and development are intertwined. Issues of state security, physical security, and human security are intertwined. And when we are dealing with these issues in bits and pieces without comprehensive effort, then we continue to struggle with this. And when we talk about the security agencies, unfortunately, the polarization of the communities is gradually affecting the work and operation of the security agencies.
Okay, I wanted, Suleiman, thank you for all the points that you have raised. Indeed, it's such a very complex and intertwined, factors that we are dealing with. But, the governors were, some statements were credited to the governor. And I'm just wondering, what is, the situation now? If you can just give us an insight of the situation in, Plateau State, in Jos, especially if you had access, to those communities. What is the situation now? Is there any, atom of peace? Is there an atom of calmness in those areas?
Situation of serious concern. Communities are living in fears. They are not sure what will happen in the next minute. As of last night, stories are going around that there are further attacks in other local governments such as Riom. Even though they are unconfirmed stories, people are having feeling of hopelessness. They think that government and security are not doing enough to protect them. People are confused and are not sure what will happen next. And it is a situation that is already spreading fear, is spreading rumors, and is generating more tension even outside of the Bokos and Bassa local government. People are already afraid of even traveling for the fear of the unknown. People are already thinking if more effort are not deployed, then this have the tendency of escalating and spreading to other communities. But we must say that the effort of the governor so far of visiting the affected communities, of coming out to address the state, of engaging with some stakeholders, is giving some ray of hope. But we can say it's not enough. People are living in fear. People are living in a condition of uncertainty of what may happen next. People are afraid of possible retaliation and reprisal attacks. And people feel that there is need for more response. And it's a situation that though we have seen the Inspector General of Police coming down to Plateau to visit, but people feel that all these things are not enough. And we are hearing more and more community people saying that they need to take laws into their hand, they need to protect themselves. This is a very disturbing situation. And if people feel the government, the security agencies are not doing enough, and some people and some section of the society are already thinking of resorting to self-help, then this can be detrimental to the effort of building peace, because more and more innocent people will be affected. And
well, thank you, Suleiman. There, thank you. That's really a disturbing, report that you have just given us there. That there's so much feeling of hopelessness, and the communities are actually living in fear. And this is not what we hope for. This is not what we pray for. Let's come back to the studio. We'll get back to you later in the course of this discussion. AIG Inalego retired. You just had the update given by Suleiman there on the sport. And just like Dr. Kabil Adamu also said, gave us all the other issues from your own perspective. So far, 90 people have been reported, killed or died in this wave of insecurity in Jos, and these attacks keep resurfacing, and there seems to be no hope for the community. Just like he said, what do you think can be done, or what do you think, in your own view, what should be done right now?
Thank you very much. First of all, the violence is now restricted to Plateau. Only last night, at a community in Otopo local government area, Otobi community in particular, where we have the Federal University of Health Science located, we have a federal government college, we have other secondary schools, and then the dam project that supplies water to Otopo and other parts. And so the situation is very disturbing.
Very disturbing.
It's worrisome. And it shouldn't be. And from the aspect of law enforcement and security, I think there is a lot that can be done. But I think it's more of a governance issue, because why do I say governance? Understanding your role in government, whether you're a governor, local government chairman, National Assembly, do they really understand the role, that the duty of government, the welfare and security of the people? And then when you understand that role, you make your approach much more structured, sustainable. Because when you begin to adopt ad hoc arrangement, you begin to have task forces. In the long run, they become routine in nature. I want to think that we have an effective security sector in Nigeria. But I think we may not have been able to harness their potential to the fullest. And that is why you find communities looking helpless. And because they sound helpless, they kind of adopt self-help. Now, you have been living with people in your community for many years. Suddenly, you begin to have this attack. And you begin to wonder, Are these not the people that we are believing? So when you begin to fear, when there is a mutual suspicion, you no longer have trust and confidence. And so the situation that you find, that I find around, first of all, is a lot of people, they have difficulty trusting their neighbors. Where we have situation of banditry, kidnapping, farmers' header clash, competition for land and other resources, water and foliage and the rest of it. And then where you have damage to crops and then damage to animals, let me put it like that. And so I think what we need to do, first of all, we've got to build a consensus among the population, among stakeholders, the elites in the various communities. Build that consensus that, look, this cannot continue. But that does not undermine the work of law enforcement.
That's where I'm coming.
Yes. And
sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry for me to. Sorry for interjecting. Before we even look at what we can do or what needs to be done, because you talked about harnessing the full potentials of our security agents, and Dr. Kabiru earlier on mentioned the need, for a performance-driven security operations. They need to also have a timeline. And you begin to wonder, in view of that, why is it that our security, operatives in all the areas, whether it's Operation Safe Haven or Operation Rainbow or whatever, are unable to preempt these attacks even before they happen? Is there an intelligence gathering gap, or does it speak to the allegations raised?
First, incidentally, I was coming to,
Yes.
I was coming
Yes.
to that point. I want to remark that we have a competent security sector, and I stand to be corrected. But we have challenge with governance and sustainability of if the efforts that government makes. First of all, every year you must have a policing plan, you must have a security plan, and there are benchmarks. And of course, when you are dealing with these issues, you have intelligence requirement or intelligence estimate that is based on the national threat analysis. And this threat analysis, the various geopolitical zones have their peculiar security threats. And these are factored in the policing plan or the security plan. But I think and that is why I want to bring in governance, the issue of sustainability. You come, the governor makes beautiful speech. That cannot solve the problem. First of all, you have to talk about coordination and collaboration of intelligence among the various security agencies, that you don't work in silos. And so once you have that interagency collaboration and coordination, and this includes MDAs, we are not just talking of the police or the DSS or the military. We talk health, we talk about interior and the rest of them. So the point I want to make is this. When you bring the community into this, you are not going to succeed unless you have an organized way. Okay. And I give an example. First of all, from the national level up to the state and local government, we have a collapse of the system. Now, how do you have effective coordination of intelligence? How do you have effective early warning and response system when you don't have local government areas having security committee meetings taking place, state security committees not taking place, even the National Security Council meeting where situations get so difficult? And so
that is impacting on the intelligence gathering.
Yeah. So now, when you have, they call it the decentralized security committees, and that is, you have the National Security Council, you have the State Security Committee, and these are decentralized to the local government and even to the world level. And what do they do? when you have those meetings, you have the representatives of key stakeholders, the police, the DSS, if there is a military formation, the traditional rulers, and you talk about the hospital superintendent or medical officer in charge. Now, what do they do? When situations come, because they meet, they assess what the security environment in their state like. Have we have new arrivals? Are there new people among us? Are there new people having a kind of life we don't understand? And these things are discussed. And then when you have that, it means the community is able to pick on any development. But I tell you that most local governments, security committees never meet. State security committees never meet because the governor believes that if you call them,
There's no coordination.
there is no coordination, and so you never get intelligence. And then talk about border infrastructure. And when you go to our borders,
That's even another aspect.
But let me finish, because this is very key. Because when you have these security committees meeting in the local government, they become just discussing issues of security. They become people that engage the various committees. Like in other countries, what do? They have the cattle resettlement committee. What do? At that local government level, at that ward level, at that emirate level, at that local government level, they say, look, we have a new set of cattle headers. We don't know them. And they hold a meeting with them. I say, look, we already have enough cattle headers in our community. Please look for another place. And these things are organized. Now, when you do that, you begin to solve problems. And then you have a kind of transhuman committee, which you try to solve. And you don't require to fire gun
You know,
to be able to deal with this.
There's an ECOWAS document on transhumans, movements.
Yes.
We'll talk to that. But Patrick, I mean, Suleiman talked about weaponization of identity and religion. And we read in some of the dailies today that the governor of Plateau State, for instance, has come out to say, we have failed you. Are these issues matter of governance or security?
Just a moment before you respond to that question, we have these responses from our viewers.
I thought we could just take from him.
Let's just take just two, but then you will now respond. We have this Jugundo Abubakar. It says Northern Nigeria faces complex security challenges, and several factors contribute to insecurity in the region. Some of the key factors include poverty and unemployment, corrupt ethnic and religious tensions, porous borders, lack of effective governance, climate and resource competition, historical grievances, and low educational level. And Yusuf Abdul from Zaria also states that governors, particularly states being ravaged by terrorist killings, should adopt community mobilization to take active roles in our security architecture. They should invest heavily on well-trained and adequately equipped community vigilantes and agro-rangers, including drone technology, that is employing technology to effectively man all our underground ungoverned spaces, wards and LGAs, that's the local government. Let them put more funds to our local government for them to perform their roles. Okay.
Yes.
Let's
so
have
is it a governance matter? Because he also raised the issue of governance. Is it a governance issue or purely security matter that we are dealing with?
Thank you. It's more of a governance issue, and security has its impact. I would rather say criminal justice administration has its issue, not just security, because it's easier to make a statement, emotion-driven statements and all that, just like you pointed out, but to what effect? Here, the problem we're having is the issue of consistency and continuity. Most of the programs that are, whatever thing is being said now or being done now, in few days from now, it will stop. And it doesn't continue. Then we'll still go back to the situation again. So that is why I say it's governance issue. Government, it's not coming out with programs that will give hope and trust to the people. and it's like an ad hoc solution. Whatever it is, everybody is condemning this, whatever has happened, and that is where it ends. We'll go back to the same situation. Criminal justice system administration, a problem is that there are no consequences for those who have committed these crimes. Arrests were said to have been made in the Bassa situation and several other ones. Who has gone to jail for it? Who has been punished? So it seems people there's this impunity that we can overrun communities, we can destroy economic activities, and nothing happens. Some people will try to intervene to get those who are arrested released because it's from an ethnic group or it's from an ethnic group. So a lot of all these factors, you see, it's beautiful discussion we are having here, and we have discussed this since before. Solutions are there. There are white papers that have been prepared for years. Since the first incident happened in 1994, we'll be having the same issues continually.
I'd like you to pursue the governance structure.
Yes. So that's how coming. So
Yes.
there are white papers that actually domiciled implementation of some of these solutions to the government. Until now, they have not been implemented. Not one single one. Setting up ad hoc operations here and there will not solve the problem. We need to have an enduring peace-building programs for the communities to be able to identify. One thing that is the main thrust of this problem we're having in the North Central is the issue of our land control. Dr. Kabiru talked about it. We don't have a fair land administration system in this country. And that is the issue. We also have this issue of indigenship and settlers problems. All these things are domiciled with governance. There's need for government to be able to say, listen, let us tackle this once for. It may not be popular to a particular set of people, but it's going to solve an enduring. We have seen government in the North Central who have done things that helped. During off camera, we were discussing about Solomon La solution. It helped, and unfortunately, during the advent of this current democratic setting, we started having these same issues in 2001 when to the extent that the governor was suspended.
Even this
state of emergency declared.
The Center for Democratic, I think CDD,
Yeah.
Did a survey on the impact of the Plateau Peace Building Initiative in certain communities. I think maybe Bokos or so, and its finding was that helped a lot to, address the issue of indigenship and settlership, and build a lot of trust.
Yes.
That was discontinued.
So that's what I'm saying. The government in Nigeria, there's no continuity in issues that are solving for political reasons and for ethnic bias. So that is where the problem we're having. That's where government has failed the people. The governor of Plateau saying that we have failed is actually the truth.
But is it above what he can do?
It's not above what he can do, but does he have the political will, will to do it? That is where the problem is. It's not about whipping up the sentiment of the people, letting them feel that you are politically correct, but put the boot on the ground. The solutions are there. You have it. You can solve it where it's bigger than you. Let the federal government come and assist and have an enduring solution. But like now, the contributor from Jos has pointed out, there are rumors in other places. What are we doing? Early warning signs. This is time for us to ensure that the other communities that are prone to situations like that, government and the security agencies must do something to ensure that we don't have another clash killings coming up again.
Patrick,
nobody's doing anything until there's another issue continuing. So governance has failed. The criminal justice administration is also failing. Intelligence is zero. We have failed.
Yes. What will be the content of this political will when addressing the issue of identity conflict?
Yes.
Because there's a provision in the Constitution that provides for citizenship. But, you know, like some stakeholders also pointed out, there's also the need to also protect the cultural identity of the indigenous people. So what needs to be done in terms of political will? What will it be now?
Let's say, for instance, in some of all these areas, we have had people who have been there for almost 80 years, 100 years. They were born there. They have all their life, that is where they know. Are you saying that they are not indigens?
That's a big question.
These are the issues. So we should be able to know that. Let's say, for instance, in some countries, when you stay a number of years, you're already a citizen of that country. You're entitled to everything. But where in your country, you can stay for years and you're still known as a settler. This is where the problem we're having. Then they believe that there's threat, political control, power, a lot of problems, and that is where I think the government and the governance, not just in Plateau alone,
yes,
all other areas where we have this crisis, because it's not only even in the North Central, all over the country, there's fire everywhere currently, as we speak.
Okay,
the government must do things. Then the local government is non-existent. He talked about it. That is the first, that is the buffer zone. That is where we should first start solving the problems. Not even the state at this point. Take care of it before the fire is ignited.
Okay.
But we don't do that. So governance have really failed the people. And, you know, some people have had somebody to said it yesterday that, look, we're talking about state of emergency in Rivers State. Situation in Plateau is worse than what happened in Rivers State. What is happening?
Okay.
But I've said that should we be going around the circle all the time?
All right.
Okay,
Thank you, Patrick.
I know. Before I have my SMS messages now. Just
okay, go ahead.
I have I don't know where you're sending in this message from. You didn't indicate, but you say the just crisis is purely genocidal, land grabbing, and government can end it if they want to, because criminal elements are not spirits in Nigeria. And this one has no name. Please always indicate your name and, of course, your location. The rate of insecurity in North Central Nigeria is so alarming. Yesterday night, Akpa Otobi in Otukpo, Benue State, experienced an attack. A lot, I think that's yes, a lot of houses were burned down and a lot were displaced. The government should take a drastic decision. That's what you say. This is Dr. Mustafa Mohammed. In my view, there is only one main reason why plateau killings never stop, and that is resource control. Who takes control of farmlands? I mean, the points that everybody,
we're raising.
Demola, back to you.
All right. Okay. Let's bring in Dr. Kabir Adamu before we go on break. I mean, a lot of issues have been raised, especially the issue of sustainability, that is, enduring sustainability in approaching this issue, and also the fact that government is not engaging enough. Right now, there is hopelessness, and and there is so much fear in the community. So, what is the way forward? Let's begin to look for the way forward now, because we are gradually winding up. What is the way forward? How do you think government can tackle this, despite the fact that the state government says they have failed?
Yeah, that statement where the governor said we have failed and apologized to the people, I think we've agreed here that it's an emotionally charged political statement. If it was not, then, I mean, anyone who fails knows what to do. He's supposed to either resign or exit and hand over to someone who can. But of course, that didn't happen. And I don't think it would happen, and it wouldn't be fair to him for that to even happen. Of course, there are circumstances in the past where worse things have happened and the person in charge didn't. And because of the peculiarity of the Nigerian situation where security remains in the exclusive list, the governor has very little he can do, actually. But then that's not to absolve the state government. I think Patrick's organization not too long ago awarded the governor of Lagos State as I'm not sure the award, but it had to do with his security performance. And there is a reason why the Lagos State governor was awarded. Lagos State at the moment is probably the only state in Nigeria that has a public security architecture that can probably subsist on its own without the federal structure. Of course, there are gaps. That's where the federal government supported. So what am I trying to say? His Excellency Governor Mufwang should take a day and go to Lagos and sit with his peer there and study what Lagos has. Lagos has 4 institutions that are supporting public security there.
But the conflict drivers are different.
Yes, so he needs to contextualize it. The structure for managing public security is the same. It is, first, I mean, we've mentioned this in the course of our conversation, your capacity for threat identification. Look, security is scientific to an extent. If you follow the process, you will solve the challenge. You can't appoint a special advisor or a commissioner and you've not empowered that person with the structure for him to do his work. You've created a peace institution. You've not empowered that peace institution with the necessary resources, as have been mentioned by the guest from Plateau State, and you expect miracle. And when incidents like this happen, you apologize. No, create the structure. If you don't know how to do it, like I've suggested, go to Lagos, study what they've done. They've got a structure in place. I know funding can be a challenge in Plateau. The resources and the availability of Lagos State is not the same with what you have in Plateau. But start somewhere and then take it to a level. Now, one of the points that have emerged is the topography in Plateau State. If you watch the video when the governor visited both Bokos and Bassa, the terrain was it's not so friendly. The infrastructure is at a very low level. And so that topography aids the type of criminality that we've seen. But for God's sake, the same advantages that the enemy have, the state should also be able to have bigger advantages. If you know you have a challenge, that's the beginning of solving that challenge. If you know you've got a bad topography, what methods do you bring on board to now solve the type of challenge? You don't wait until the enemy strikes and then you complain that you don't have infrastructure in that place. So this is the bottom line. I feel that the security architecture that is created by the state to support the performance or the delivery of security has not been very effective. And so in direct response to your question, the beginning point is start to create that infrastructure, state level infrastructure to support ongoing. Operation Rainbow is there. Okay. And I know it was created by the state. It's a joint task force. But then part of the challenge that we've seen in Operation Rainbow is inclusion. This issue is identity-based. If there is a perception by one of the identities that they are not part of Operation Rainbow, then that operation is not going to be successful.
Just point
so
out
that operation has to be perhaps reviewed and inclusion. The question of some persons being settler, I think we need to move beyond that point. Why is it that today in Lagos you can have someone from Delta State, someone from Enugu as a House of Rep member, but there is no other state in Nigeria, I don't want to particularize it to Plateau State, where you have that kind of situation. And then look at where Lagos is moving. So he should tell us a lesson that if you accept settlers in the manner that the Constitution allows, that there is a lot you can benefit from.
That's okay. Thank you. I just want to, I know you've touched about the Constitution, provisions of the Constitution, and Nigeria is a federating, state, so I think the Constitution is our grand norm. We'll come back, and when we come back, before we take on AIG Inaligun retired, we'll bring in Suleiman to, share with us what he thinks, the governor can do at the moment, because the governor is a state executive person. He's not entirely helpless in all of this. There are things that the governor can do. Like someone said, the governors know what to do. But please don't go away. Send in your comments and your suggestions, and when we come back from the break, we'll read them out to you. All right, welcome back, and you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Let's quickly return to Jos, where Suleiman is, of course, joining us for this conversation. Suleiman, thank you for the points that you've raised, and we're back to you again. This time, just to give us an idea from your experience as a peace conflict resolution expert. Governor Mufwang is not entirely helpless or helpless in this situation. As we've all pointed out, there's something that he can still do to salvage the situation. We cannot just prey on the emotions of the people. What do you think can be done, as of now to... I'm just groping for words now,
At least to calm the
situation. To calm the
situation.
situation.
Thank you so much, Claire. I think the first thing is for the governor to be more deliberate and more intentional with issues of diversity management, confidence, and trust building across the state. Whatever intervention that may come in, people need to have that level of trust and confidence about what change that can bring. And I think I will also suggest that the governor should revisit one of his recent initiatives of establishing what they call Plateau State Interreligious Advisory Council. The governor should ensure that that council is truly inclusive enough to have representation of all the interested and affected parties in this situation on the plateau. The advisory council can go a long way in helping the government to douse tension, to build confidence, and the governor should empower them. But first and foremost, ensure that they are truly inclusive, because we are hearing some complaint from people. And then the governor should also look at, he initiated what he called mediation centers in Plateau State, working alongside the alternative dispute resolution mechanism in the state with multi-door courts and all that. That mediation and dispute resolution centers can go a long way in supporting and helping the government in engaging with issues of dispute, conflict, and the community and local government level. I'm not sure how effective they have been since their establishment. The governor can, in a rapid way, revisit all this initiative. And then the Plateau State Peacebuilding Agency, that is the secretariat where the Interreligious Council, Advisory Council is domiciled. As I mentioned earlier, people want to feel and see that the state government is truly committed to addressing these issues. And part of what people want to see is, apart from trust and confidence building, but then all these families that have lost their dear ones, who are now afraid of what will happen tomorrow and even don't know how to survive. It is existential and survival issue. The governor must be seen working with all shade of stakeholders to really engage with this situation. One of the problems that people often complain about is the absence of arresting and ensuring that the perpetrators of this heinous act face the wrath of the law. But also the security agencies are having challenge that sometimes it will happen, those that have done the act have left, and then those that will be arrested are people that even when taken to court cannot be proven to be really part of the problem. And at the end of the day, the courts will be helpless and you will see these people coming up. But that does not also take away the issue of impunity and even corruption to some extent. So therefore, the governor must be seen to be really standing out. He made some statement in the past and he was misunderstood, and people are even accusing him of blaming either the natives or saying he's calling the natives criminals and all that. I want to say that as a leadership is not easy, and as a governor of one of the most diverse states, I think I would love to see the governor deploying all government policy and programs towards diversity management, earning the trust and confidence of all shades of parties in the conflict, whether is native or non-native, whether it's settler, indigenous, whether it's Muslim, Christian. Everyone needs to be carried along in an inclusive and comprehensive manner to put hands on deck to support the governor and the government to really address this issue. And I think the governor's statement of saying the government has failed or they have failed them, I think for me is a statement of renewing his commitment and trust to the people that, okay, I have accepted that there are gaps and there are missing links, and I'm ready to do better. But the communities, the Plateau State citizens need to also help the government to do better. In the past, we have seen the Chief of Defense Staff, the Inspector General of Police, the Sultan, the Khan President, everybody, the National Security Advisor. But after that, it goes back. I want to see the governor renewing and rejuvenating a continuous and sustainable process of engaging with these issues. And
okay, so Suleiman, in less than 30 seconds, please, I'd like you to respond in less than 30 seconds so that we can return to the studio. The measures that you have just enumerated were also, some of them were measures that the immediate past governor, also, took. And, there were allegations that he was kind of, allegations of bias on his part. So how might Governor Mutfwang get the buy-in of, the people when these initiatives are undertaken?
leadership is about having vision. The reason why Barrister Caleb Manasseh Mutfwang is the governor of Plateau State is because the citizens of Plateau State trusted his program and trusted that he is capable of giving the state the vision and the direction of prosperity, development, and growth. And as a leader, he must take that risk of, listen, leadership is not easy, as I mentioned. There will always be people who will either mischievously or deliberately or genuinely have opposing views about government. But the government must ensure that they are doing everything within his power. What the previous government did especially is creating that platform of engaging with across communities, whether it's Fulani herders or farming communities in Riom, in all the communities. The government must carry everybody along through the process of policy dialogue, policy programming, and policy implementation. When they do their best, let the results speak for itself. But there has been a lot of investment by non-governmental organizations in creating peace architecture dialogue, early warning, and early response mechanism. Governor Mutfwang and Plateau State government should leverage on all this, take advantage of them. There are a lot of community people with necessary skills and capacity of conflict analysis, early warning and early response, mediation, dialogue, engagement, and even collecting and supporting security for intelligence. That is the way.
Okay, thank you very much, Suleiman, for your perspective there. The government should take advantage of the achievement made so far and ensure continuity and engaging with the community, various communities. Well, we have some responses from our viewers. Let me just take one or two of them before we come back to AIG retired in Alego. The credible Kenneth says, the credible way out of this security challenge bedeviling our country, Nigeria, is for our leaders to rise above ethnic and religious sentiments and muster the political will to deal with the perpetrators. And Comrade Okpalua Simon, PhD, says it has been proven that unprotected victims are at the mercy of criminals who are armed. Well,
yes.
You want to read?
Yes, I have quickly. This one is coming from Majara Amadu from Kwantagora in Niger State. He says, good morning to you all. I love your program. It's an excellent one. And this one says, good morning, Uncle Demola, and Claire too, because I'm here. Despite all the efforts made to tackling the security issue by the present government, it's a pity that nothing concrete has been done to stop this action, mostly in the northern area. What is the essence of NIN and BVN if kidnappers and other evil elements cannot be tracked? I think that's an excellent point. And, I just want to... You have more?
Yes,
Okay,
I have a question for Inalago, but I don't know whether I should let me just quickly read this one. It says, good morning, Mr. Demola and Mrs. Claire. I hope you're okay now. Security situation in the North Central is getting alarming. Will our security agencies trying? May God help Nigeria. Then this Solomon from the FCT says, our need to truly reform the entire justice system. There is need for us to reform the entire justice system, but how? Then the need to review our traditional institutions in the area of constitutionalism also, but how? Now, AIG retired in Alegu. I just want to find out. Suleiman says something that what the people wants to see is honesty on the part of government in resolving, in addressing this issue. The sincerity that government must be sincere. Is the sincerity now that is the bone of contention here?
Well, there should be sincerity of purpose on the part of government. But like I did remark in my earlier statement, that these ad hoc arrangements that we have will not take us anywhere. Where you have the Nigeria Police Force that has primacy on internal security, and the job either virtually taken over and the police is not provided for. Now, even in the United Nations system, when you have a peacekeeping force deployment at a location, they have time limit. They draw down. So when you have this, you are a father, you don't have money, and you have many children, you are going to have problem. And so the police as it is not properly equipped, not properly motivated. And then all these monies are going to multiple task forces, and you are going to have a problem. But I did say earlier that the security sector have got competencies. The Nigeria police has forensic competence and other competencies. But do they have the resources to work with? The people have got to trust the police. When you make them trust the police, they will not engage in self-help.
That is the major issue, actually, the issue of trust.
Yes, what we have, and I think when you talk about ethnic and all that competition for land, let's ask ourselves, these people were once living together as brothers. At some stage, they even intermarry. But when you begin to have infiltration by people with strange characters, and that was why I talked about effective border infrastructure. And so you have people come to communities that are unknown, and they just shoot people and kill people. Crops are damaged, no compensation. And so you begin to create that mutual suspicion, and it's going to take time. So, but we must create avenues for people to be able to ventilate their frustrations. And so what the governors need to do, they don't have to do big things, but they've got to have a little bit of funding. And I talked about having these effective security committees at the state level and effective committees at the local government level. And so the things the local government security committee is not able to deal with, they pass them on. And so you empower them. But the situation that we have, the governor cannot just do everything, but the governor can put those structures. The governor can commit resources to those structures. It doesn't have to buy a weapon. It's just to create that avenue. And when you feel, when this situation, for some of us who were on the field, you discover that when you engage, they are never going to have problem. And you find in some states, no matter what happens, they are never going to have problem. But when you are in your house, people come, they destroy your crop, you lay complaint, the next things, nothing is done, and then people are killed. I mean, no matter how.
You have just aligned with what Dr. Kabir said
but what I'm
concerning
trying to
the
say,
issue of Lagos State.
What I'm trying to say is we've got to have an effective coordination and collaboration system. And the way to start, it is empowering either ward level security committee, local government security committee, and these committees become committees that settle issues. They become committees that will settle farmers' headers.
Okay.
They become committees that will allow...
Because of time.
I want Patrick to respond to the growing perception. I mean, this is not the first time that we're hearing or we hear of alleged, complexity of our security agencies, especially our military, security operatives in either side of the conflicting parties, conflicting parties. And that kept me wondering the manner in which troops are apparently deployed to those, conflict areas. That's one. And how can the military ensure that members of the troops are not compromised? Because it has become a recurring issue, a decimal issue in the whole of this conflict.
And indeed, it's a major issue because confidence and trust is one issue. People are resorting to self-help because to them they feel that it's either the military is supporting one group or the other. I'll give you an instance. There was a commander that was posted as the commander for the Operation Safe Haven, Major General Ali, and because he's a Muslim, right from the first day, a group has said, look, we don't want him here, he will not do well, he will not protect us, without knowing whether he is there to carry out his job. The mere fact that somebody is from one of the contending team has already made, there's a suspicion and there's mistrust already. Now, you can't rule it out that the military is a mixture of both Christians, Muslims, Fulanis, Biron, Angas, all of them mixed together. And so they are constitutionally charged to do their work no matter who is, even if it's your father that is seen committing a crime, you must carry out that operation.
So how does the military deal with these recurrent allegations against it?
Yes, what they're doing, there's internal mechanism that is being set up that has like for instance, if you have any genuine, I've seen instances where there are genuine complaints made present, and there's only room trials to discipline those people and all that. But you see, the problem now is that by the time you discipline and you dismiss that officer, he has all the military training, he goes and joins another group and becomes again a perpetrator, becomes a problem to the society.
It's because we don't follow up on such people.
Follow up on such people. The tracking system in Nigeria is zero. Even some criminals that were released, suspects or whatever, ex-convicts are not being tracked, so you can't follow up on. So we have a major problem here that there is mistrust. I've had a situation where I visited some of the worrying situation, and with me, I had some security personnel that were with me. And once they look in, don't go there, those were bad at. I said, listen, my own, I must go to both sides, no matter who, because I need to hear what is the issue. But because it's one a side, he said, no, he has already told me. I said, no, you're supposed to be unbiased. You're not supposed to
listen to
take
all
sides. Because they are Nigerians themselves. Because right from childhood, I was discussing with somebody, I said, right from childhood, people have been indoctrinated not to like somebody. And so even if there are many months training are they given to join the military or the police or whatever, you can't take that away from them. The Nigerian factor is always there.
The implications of these allegations are grave on our military, isn't it?
The allegation is there, but the military has a mechanism to check it. All we need to say is that there must be sustainability in making sure that, because both sides accuse them.
All right, last word from you, Dr. Kabi, because you don't have time, Claire.
Because he was going to say, give us a sustainable way of addressing that.
Okay,
my own is the role of the National Assembly, where the democratic system provides a huge role for the National Assembly. We've admitted here that there are colossal failures. The National Assembly would need to step in, both from a point of view of legislation and then from an oversight function. And where gaps are identified, let them take the necessary action. We can't have a nation and we have the situation we have at the moment.
All right, Dr. Kabir Adamu, I'd like to thank you very much for always giving us your very deep and, incisive contribution to Good Morning Nigeria. We do appreciate you. Let's also appreciate Assistant Inspector General of Police, Inaligu, retired. I'd like to thank you very much, Wilson, for coming. And of course, Patrick Agambo, thank you, security and peace expert. We appreciate you. Suleiman, I almost forgot you in Jos. Thank you very much for your contributions.
Well,
all right, that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. We thank you for watching. Don't forget, join us again, same time tomorrow, and we wish all the states in the North Central peace and unity.
I'm Ademola Adeoye. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you tomorrow.